about a girl that was hurt a lot, maybe growing up, perhaps in relationships, and she decided that she didn't need to have love in her life. And so this song is called Without Love. She drives the highway from work to go home. Another Friday night she'll spend it alone. Invitations are blinking on the phone, but she declined. Love runs cold, the stuff on her own. Without love, she pulls excuses from hearts and from sleeves. Says, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm free. Skates around prospective loved wannabes. She can't be bothered with such trite fantasy, so she'll be. Without love, you block the sunlight to your soul. A withered heart needs time to heal, but love to grow. Without love, your days are dark and your nights are long. But her love is broke, her heart's a frozen stone. So she goes without love, without love. She lives her love life through books and movies, medals in her friends, love affair, little busy bee. Keeps her close to the flame, far from the heat. She's been burned too many times, and these scars, they run deep, so she'll be. Without love, you block the sunlight to your soul. A withered heart needs time to heal, but love to grow. Without love, your days are dark and your nights are long. But her love is broke, her heart's a frozen stone. So she goes without love, without love, without love. Day and night she dreams of love and affection, and folks with no faces, no names. She'd like to take a chance and give away the past, but her dreams turn to feeling and same old, same old, same. Without love, without love, you block the sunlight to your soul. Withered heart needs time to heal, but love to grow. Without love, your days are dark and your nights are long. But her love is broke, her heart's a frozen stone. So she goes without love, without love, without love. But she's gotta have it. She knows. She can't go, she can't go, she can't go without love.
My family was an interesting family to grow up in. I loved them dearly, but I could tell that there were dynamics that I really didn't get. A lot of them didn't talk to each other, and I couldn't figure that out. It was a week ago, last week, it was 3 years ago, my aunt made transition to the other side. She was 91 and had lived almost double what the doctors were saying she was going to do, and she just had a lot of things to do, so she said, I can't be bothered with what the doctor has to say. She and my dad were twins. There they are. Thank you. About 2 years old there. And they were inseparable. They were just inseparable. I found this in my aunt's photo album when I was cleaning out her apartment. And there were so many pictures of them on a horse and hugging, and it was just so sweet. And it was really moving because I had never seen them hug before. They barely talked to each other. And after the funeral, I was chatting with my dad, and I asked him, when did you begin to drift apart? How did that happen? He had to think about it for a bit, and he said, well, it actually happened when my grandparents were not getting along for many, many years. And my aunt sided with my grandmother, and my dad sided with my grandfather, and we had two parts of the family that really didn't talk to each other very much. And I said, what happened there? Where was the division? What happened? And he said, my grandfather and grandmother were living in Greenwich Village in New York, and they were both tailors. My grandmother was a hat designer for a very famous woman named Lily Dachet. Anybody ever hear of Lily Dachet? She was an extraordinary milliner. And my grandmother was having a great time living in New York and designing, and my grandfather said, we're moving back to Boston. My grandmother never forgave him because all of a sudden she had her creative life was pulled out from underneath her. And so they, being good Italian Catholics, they never divorced, but they never really loved each other after that. When my aunt got sick, my father began to take care of her, and the healing began to happen. I was so happy to see that before she made transition. They came back together again. It's so sad when it takes an illness or almost passing to do that, isn't it? I read a Arad Bee Colony years ago about a woman who wrote that her brother had a silver spoon and their mom had owned it, and the woman wanted the spoon. She said to her brother, this is my spoon. Mom wanted me to have it. She knew that her mother really wanted her to have that, and so she stopped talking to her brother because he wouldn't let the spoon go. Well, one day her brother passed, and the woman wrote to Abby and said how foolish it was that a spoon got in the way of having a relationship with the only person who was alive from her family. He said, we divided over a spoon. My mom and my aunt quit talking 5 years before my mom passed away in 2011. And I said, why are you not talking to Jean anymore? She said, because she demanded a ring that my mother had. I said, you didn't want to, what was the point? She said, well, I don't have it anymore. I said, didn't you tell her that? She said, no. It was the principle of the thing. So she wouldn't give back a ring that she didn't have, but she wasn't going to tell her sister she didn't have it because it was the principle that she was not going to give it to her because she didn't have it anymore. Wow. Mom. So I called my aunt after my mom passed because they hadn't talked for 5 years, and I told her that mom had passed away, and she was so upset. She said, I don't know why your mom cut me off 5 years ago. I said, something about a ring? She said, what ring? I said, the one that your mom had. She said, I have no idea what you're talking about. She said, well, mom had your mom's ring. I said, I still don't know what you're talking about. She said, we never had a discussion about it. We create things in our minds. We create hurts, and we put the walls up, and we burn bridges, and all of a sudden we're all alone for no reason whatsoever. Why do we build those walls? What do we get out of it? What do we get out of being angry about a spoon, about a ring, about anything another person does? Think about your own life. What are you angry about in your life? Who are you angry at today? How tall is that wall between the two of you? Why did you build it? Was it worth it? Do you remember why that wall was built? What makes you withhold your love behind that thick wall? What makes us stop loving when it's the very thing that we want more than anything? We come here on Sunday or we watch it on the phone during the week, and we really do feel a wonderful sense of acceptance and joy here, don't we? We can come here and we can just be ourselves, and we know we're going to be fully accepted. And then we go home, we deal with the fact perhaps that love and acceptance for the rest of the other 6 days are not necessarily what we're finding. Well, that's not even true, actually. In San Francisco, there was a woman who used to come. I was the minister there for 6 years. There was a woman who would always come into Unity of San Francisco with her headphones on. Her name was Dixie. Now, she was friendly with me, but she was not friendly with anybody else. One day I asked her what she was listening to when she came in, and she said, "I'm not listening to anything. I just don't want people bothering me." Well, happy Sunday, Dixie. She was really snippy with people, especially if they were in her seat. There's no more ownership than anything than people who are in your chair on Sunday morning. Made me sad to think that this woman was a truth student for over 30 years. She could tell you what Charles Fillmore said, what Emily Cady said, and what page. And then she wore headphones so nobody would get near her. These were her walls. One of the most difficult things to learn in this culture is how to love, is how to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is a scary thing in our culture, because they're the same thing. I am safe to love means I am vulnerable enough to let that love flow forth from me and to accept it from you. If I can't be vulnerable, love does not flow. If I'm not open and receptive, if I have walls, if I have headphones. I see so many people walking around with headphones today. It's like everybody's in their own little world, isn't it? Or they're texting on their phone. Everybody's in their own little bubble. If I'm not allowing the love to flow, then I can't be loved. Or, more importantly, I can't love. Because really, we only can feel our own love. I can't feel your love. I know that you love me, but I can only open myself up to the love that's inside of me. If I have walls around me, walls around my heart, because I just will not be hurt again, or they won't give me that ring or that spoon, then love can't flow in the rest of my life. Life can't flow, joy can't flow, my health can't flow. Abundance can't flow, God can't flow if I'm building walls. They're all so connected. I get it, we've all been hurt. We live in D.C. Talk about walls. Somebody once said, now when you move here, you can't ask anybody what they do because that's just not allowed here. Because half the people who live here are spies. Oh, that's interesting. Thank you. But we do. We feel we have to put up a facade. We have to put up a front to who we really are. After someone you love dies or ups and leaves you for somebody else, you think, never again. Nope, here's another wall, here's another level. No more hurt. After your 15-year-old dog dies, you swear, I'm never going to have my heart ripped out again. I said that six and a half years ago. My little Asa Arthur died. I held him while he was being put to sleep, and I said, never again. No, this just hurts too much. And 3 months later, there was Wendy. Never mind. There we go. When you can't do a certain creative activity because you may have something physically wrong, like arthritis, and you just don't have what you think is the dexterity to do that. When you become the last living member of your wonderful family, when macular degeneration doesn't allow you to read anymore, when that was your favorite thing to do. When you're not as physically attractive to this culture as you were once perceived to be. My dear friend Sally was she was gorgeous all the way through the end of her life before she passed on. She just had this extraordinary glow. But when she was younger, she was absolutely stunning. And a friend looked at her picture on my wall and said, "Oh, God, she's gorgeous. Will you introduce her to me?" I said, "She's 84 now, but I'm sure she'd be happy to say hello to you." She's okay. Well, it was a different perception. I said, she's still a wonderful woman. She's still beautiful. But if you're expecting to see that picture, no, she looks a little different now. So all these things begin to shut us down. We shut down the access to our hearts, and love dies, and so do we, little by little by little. Every year, a little more, we build the walls and we begin to shrink. Of course, love never dies. That God is love, therefore God never dies. But when that powerful energy isn't used creatively anymore, then the sadness, the bitterness, the regret, the unprocessed grief that we feel turns within and it eats us up. We get eaten up by our own resentment. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, love is the eternal, unending power of God herself. Love is the force that holds all of these molecules and atoms and life force together within each and every one of our bodies. It's the driving force of the universe. It is literally what we're made of. But if any divine power is used incorrectly or unlovingly by ourselves, it can harm us. Love, taken over by ego, can be smothering, can be jealous, envious, untrusting when it's turned outward. And when we turn it inward, it becomes doubtful, untruthful, it becomes depressive, it becomes self-abusive. Depression is the result of not feeling safe on this planet, with ourselves and with other people. That is why that affirmation, "It is safe to love," is so important for us to get. It is truly safe for you to love on this planet. In other words, saying, it is safe to let God flow. I can't be hurt by letting God flow, and I can't be hurt by loving. Sometimes depression happens because of life circumstances. Sometimes it happens because of genetics. Some people are born depressed with other depressive people in the family. It's been proven that there can be a genetic component. And sometimes it happens from past life issues that we have come here to resolve. Playwright Samuel Beckett shared, "One could say I had a happy childhood, although I showed little talent for being happy. My parents did all that could be done to make a child happy, but I often felt lonely." So there's something, if you were a depressed child, there may have been something in another life that you brought with you to bring healing forth. So whether it's by nature, nurture, situation, or some other factor that you feel sad or depressed or lonely or uncared for or even suicidal. Very often somebody will come up to me and say, "I just feel like I want to end it today." I think I shared with you, or maybe in the class, I can't remember if it was on Sunday or in the class, that a woman walked up to me at the end of the service. She handed me a bottle of sleeping pills and said, "If you weren't good today, I was going to take these." Was I good today? She handed me the pills. She said, "I got what I needed." I was a wreck. I was like, I'm glad I didn't know that beforehand. Then the ego goes to get in the way and make everything okay. But she came because the Spirit led her to hear the truth about who she was. No, whatever you're going through, there's an answer. There is an answer. And an interesting clue to that answer is in the Hebrew Bible, Deuteronomy 30. First time I read it, I went, what a weird verse. "The Lord your God will circumcise your heart so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul in order that you may live." Circumcise what? What the heck does that mean? It's a weird choice of word, I thought, when I first read that. It's a very powerful image, though. Circumcision of the heart means to remove that wall, remove the barrier to letting the love of God flow forth and become that vulnerable child that we truly are. As the great teacher said, only by becoming vulnerable as a child is vulnerable and letting that love flow will we be able to access the power of God from within us. He said, you shall become as a child to let the love flow, to let the joy flow, to let the healing and the abundance and all the good we've ever wanted flow. So if the good isn't flowing, I would invite you to say, am I not being vulnerable? Where am I cutting off the love? I've come to realize that being vulnerable really means to become authentic. How authentic am I in my life? Am I allowing the real me to shine forth? And it can be scary. It can be very scary. Vulnerability being, again, the flow of love, being your real identification, becoming the true me. Being in the flow of love is the power of God always present and available to use. If I built the wall, I'm just in darkness all the time. I need to turn the light on. But if I'm stumbling around in the dark and cursing the darkness, I could go, oh, you know what, I can go over and flick the switch and let the love and the light and the joy flow. So the power of God moving through us is necessary for our lives to work. God's power doesn't flow if I'm not open and receptive and vulnerable and pliable and open. Taking the walls down from your heart is one of the scariest, most painful, gut-wrenching, terrifying steps we can take, and it's the only way that we can live our lives. Being on the planet is advanced spiritual work. I think we can all agree to that. Being here is not easy. It requires us to be open and receptive and wise and loving and joyful and grateful. Because if we're not letting God flow. Sometimes people will come to me and say, you know, unity sounds good, but it just doesn't work in my life. I said, what's not working? Well, I just can't trust. Or I can't let the love flow because you don't know about my life. I said, if we allow ourselves to love, our lives are going to work. That is what I've discovered about unity. That is, I think, in a nutshell, what is unity about? It's about coming together to be able to love, to be in joy, to be grateful, to know I am a spiritual being, I'm a divine being on a human journey, on a human adventure, or field trip, as I sometimes call it. How open am I to letting God be God in me today? Our scripture this morning that Cheryl shared with us, it has a powerful metaphor to how to let that happen. So in the story, Joshua has brought the Hebrew people into Canaan to claim the land. We know that Moses and the original people were not allowed into the promised land. Why? God said because they mutter and complain too much. There's a great lesson right there. I'll leave that with you to meditate on it. We don't go to the promised land because we mutter and moan and complain. So it was Joshua and that generation that got to go into the promised land. In taking Jericho, they're instructed by Spirit, circle the wall of Jericho 7 times in 7 days, blow the horn 7 times, and then shout the wall down. There's a lot of Bible metaphysics in there, isn't there? So they do, the wall falls down, and they take Jericho. Okay, great. Sounds very cinematic. But what does it mean? In our Unity Bible metaphysical understanding, Joshua, the leader, represents the divine ideas of abundance, working against all odds for your success. How are we going to do that? How am I going to do that? I don't know how to do this. Do you ever go to a job interview and there were so many people there? You go, I can't. That's the Wall of Jericho. Oh God, too many people, too big of a wall. I can't do this. No, you can't, but God can. Do you ever want an apartment or a home that all these people wanted? That's a wall. I'll never get that place. I'll never get a place to live here in the city. Oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? I can't. No, I can't, but God can. Do you ever want to date with that hot person and then you looked in the mirror? That's the Wall of Jericho right there. Who would want to date this? Oh my God, I'm kidding to think that that person would go out with this. Might as well get 12 cats right now and just call it a night. The walls of Jericho are things that we build. We build them out of our perception. I went to an audition, there were 325 people, I think. I went, oh my God, and I went, okay. I just started Unity and went, okay, if this is my job, this is my show, then nobody can keep it from me. And if it's not mine, there's nothing I can do to get it, so I might as well just have fun. I got 3 callbacks and I got the show. Because I just said, okay, I'm just here to show up for my good and to perform and just have a great time. It was totally different than any other audition I'd been to. Because I said, I let go and I let God do this. It's not about me, it's not about them. They're the walls of Jericho. I just need to get up there and shout my song. And just be who I am. So God tells Joshua to march around the wall for 7 days with his warriors and the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets. On the 7th day, march around the wall 7 times blowing the trumpets. When the trumpet blows, everybody gives a big shout and the wall goes. A lot of 7s in there. 7, 7, 7, 7. In Bible numerology, 7 is the number of divine completion of a task. 7 is the time that we need to complete it on this plane. God created the world in 7 days. 7 days are a complete week. In other words, we do what we need to do for success until it's done. How do we know when it's done? We'll know when it's done. Sometimes it isn't for us to know how long it'll take. And then the big shout comes at the end. Jesus yelled out after Lazarus, who died, he yelled out, Lazarus, come out! I had quit smoking through silent unity. I'll tell that story one day. And I had done really well for 3 weeks, and then I went into a 7-Eleven, and there was a packet of my cigarettes calling my name. Buy me. No, I don't. We're not going out together anymore. I'm not seeing you anymore. Oh, come on. Just try it. You know, it's like a little devil with horns going, buy me, buy me, buy me. So I said, I'm going to prove this. I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to take it home, and I'm not going to do anything with it. And I let the cigarette sit there 4 or 5 minutes, and I opened it up, and I smelled it, and I said, I am not going to smoke this. I took one out just to prove it. And I lit it up, and I said, this is not going to have any effect on me. And I took another drag, and I went, oh my God, I'm smoking again. And from the core of my being, it felt like there was a little earthquake going on, and from the depths of my being, God within said, no! And it was a really loud yell. Oh, I took the cigarettes, I threw them into the toilet, flushed it, and never again picked up a cigarette. That's the divine shout we hear sometimes that we need to move forward to our good. This is not going to happen again. That was 1984. That was the last time I had a cigarette or desired one. I did dream for about 10 years, though. Anybody ever quit? You wake up and go, oh, thank God I'm not smoking. Because it feels so real, doesn't it? It's like, oh, thank you, God. I'm not smoking anymore. But sometimes that big shout needs to come out. No, this is not going to happen. No, this will not take place in my life anymore. So the crowds are walking around the wall. Crowds in Bible stories are your thoughts and your feelings coming together for one big affirmation. All of our thoughts and feelings and words and actions have to align for this good to come forth. When you have a good that's yours in life, it's really important to keep affirming it, keep knowing it until it shows up. You're not a failure if you can't see it yet, but keep knowing the truth. Joyfully, faithfully, passionately. This is mine and so it is. I deserve a good life. Affirm that with me. I deserve a good life. I deserve to love and to be loved. I deserve to love and to be loved. There's more than enough money.
There's more than enough money.
And it's mine.
And it's mine.
I am a success in whatever I choose. I am a success in whatever I choose. I am a healthy, whole, divine being. I am a healthy, whole, divine being. Breathe in. Now, if I was directing you in a show, I would say I would want a little more passion, but you can work on that when you're home. I deserve a good life. I deserve to be loved. I deserve love. I deserve all the good that I could ever imagine and more. Why? Because I am. Because I'm a child of God, that's all. I had a friend whose father was an evangelical minister, and the doctor told him that he had prostate cancer. And Dad got home, and he told his family, I'm going into the bedroom until the cancer is gone. Okay. He went in and he was praying for 3 days straight. And when he knew that there was no more cancer, he went to the doctor and went, we must have made a mistake. We can't find it. He refused to let go. He marched around that wall for 3 days. He said, I am cancer-free. I deserve the highest and the best just because. There's no other reason needed, just because I am. When you know God's love is the core and the full essence of you, then the need to try to make it work, to try to figure out, to struggle, stops. Because we know it doesn't work anyway. When we say, how am I going to do this? We've already lost, because I can't do it. Even our brother said, I myself do nothing, it's God within that does the work. Why do I think I can figure it out with my head? I can't. You deserve a wonderful, joyful, successful, and happy life, period. That's it, full stop. Let go of that wall and be divinely vulnerable. Let it go. You're not stopping anything from coming in, you're just stopping the good from coming out. Feel what you need to feel. Take time to grieve your losses. Let those who love you. Don't keep pushing them away. You are totally and completely safe in the love of Spirit within you. Let God reveal all the good that's waiting for you today. Take that wall down. Keep it out of your life. Yell it down if you need to. Say, no, this is not going to happen anymore. Take a breath. Close your eyes. Go to your heart. What wall have I been keeping up? It's exhausting keeping a wall together. It's exhausting keeping God, keeping love out. It's exhausting keeping it in. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time. Breathe in and out. As we center ourselves and prepare for our time of meditation, we sing our way in the silence. In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there. In the silence, where every color blends and every rainbow ends, good is there. In the light, now you find that you know peace of mind. In the silence, your path is paved in gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there. Peace is there. Truth is there. God is there. Love is here. Love has always been here. I may have turned that switch off or built a wall around it, but if there was no love, there would be no me. The love of God, the grace of God, the good of God is always pouring forth regardless. And yet I can increase that good by saying yes to it. By letting go and letting God do the work for me. But I have to give Spirit permission. I have to say yes. I have to agree with God for God to flow forth. And as our great teacher said, unless you become a child, vulnerable, open, pliable, creative, imaginative, loving, we can't access the fullness of Spirit. Today I let go of old hurts. Today I let the scars heal. Today I let love flow. I let me flow. I invite you to breathe in that wonderful energy into every cell, every tissue, every sinew, every part of your being, and silently know I am healed and strong in the love of God. I am healed and strong in the love of God. Don't try to figure it out. Simply let it be. Let it flow. Let it happen. I myself don't do this. Spirit within does. I remember I am abundantly blessed by the prospering love of God. If there are any issues of financial flow or success in my career, I let it go because I don't know how to do it until it's revealed. I am abundantly blessed by the prospering love of God. Whatever questions I might have in my life, I let God be the light on my path. And I am perfectly guided to my highest good. I am safe, loved, wise, and centered in the power and love of God. In the silence of our being, let Spirit reveal this. Don't try to make it work. Let it work. Let it be who I am. Breathe in. Breathe out. Take a breath. It is safe to love. Let that truth take hold. It is safe to love. Take another breath as we bring our sense of himself back into his place. We sing our way back, but the greatest thing in all my life is loving you. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you. I want to love you more. I want to love you more. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you.
This is a song that I really wanted to play, and I just wasn't sure if it was right, and just what you were speaking about. And I was thinking about the kids walking down the streets with the earphones and everything that we do to keep people at bay. And I'm a firm believer that addiction is a disease of the body, and it's something that a lot of people are predisposed to. But I also believe it's a disease of the mind and the spirit, and I think it is exacerbated with the experiences that we have as children and those behaviors because of that we bring into adulthood. And it's about pushing people away, and the fear that we live in, and certainly, afraid of loving and being loved is a big part of those who suffer from addiction. And I had a close friend when I was living in Frederick, Maryland a number of years ago, and she was clean and sober and was doing very well in her struggles with addiction, and we sort of grew apart, and I'd heard she had relapsed, and I saw her walking the streets of Frederick, and to watch her demise was crushing and disheartening, and so I wrote this song, and it is about, a lot of it is about that fear of loving and being loved. And this is called But for the Grace. Melissa walks the streets of this small town, a bag of bones, somewhere she's been wrong. She don't love herself the way that I do. This I know, 'cause I've been there before. But for the grace of God, there go I. That could be me, committing a slow suicide. One of the few to make it out alive. I'm living proof, if you reach out, you'll get through. Last night I passed her on the corner, caught her eye, sunken deep inside her mind. She recognized me coming toward her. I turned away, she knew me see that way. But for the grace of God, there go I. That could be me, hiding my face from the light. One of the few to make it out alive. I'm living proof, if you have faith, you'll get through. To get her fix, she begged, steal the bottle. someone down. She's waiting for jobs to come out. If she's lucky, she'll be back here tomorrow. There's no guarantees in this deadly disease, but for the grace of God, there's no lie. That could be me, stricken for fixings of fire, one of the few to make it out alive. I'm living proof, if you let go, you'll be through. Unspeakable things she's done in a mind compared to none. But you're not alone, 'cause we share what we own. If you could only believe that there's a better life out there, we'll take you home to a place you've never been before. Melissa walks the streets of this small town, a shackled soul, somewhere she's been wrong. She don't love herself the way they do. This I know.